Welcome to the Firewater Review, a weekly podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On today's show, we will be reviewing Wild Turkey Rare Breed. I am your host, Seth Brown. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How's it going, sir?
It's going good. I am super excited because this is one of my favorite bourbons that we will be trying tonight. So I'm very happy. How about you?
I am ecstatic because I really enjoy this too. I like barrel-proof bourbons, and I have long felt that this, if you've not really gotten into barrel-proof bourbons, this would be an excellent starting place.
Yes, this is the gateway to barrel-proof bourbons.
Yes, it will suck you in, my friends. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, take a guess at what we're trying.
It is Wild Turkey Rare Breed. I am drinking batch number WT03 RB. And I think you have a different one, don't you?
I do. I have the newest release, the 116 proof. So I'm pretty excited about this because actually they were sitting side by side on the store shelf when I picked it up. There was a 112 and a 116, and I was like, ooh, the new proof. So I had to grab it because I've been wanting to try it. Super interested to kind of see, because Wild Turkey is known for, not having very high proof stuff because they distill and put everything into the barrel at such a low proof. Nothing ever gets to us really high proof. So I was really interested at seeing 116 because it made me wonder, well, are they starting to distill different? Are they, barreling it, putting it into the barrel at higher proofs now? So I was really interested to see if there was a flavor change or, any difference.
Yeah. Yeah. The 03 batches, they're 108.2. And that's,
so that was like 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It shows the kind of stores I shop at. Not a whole lot of bourbon clientele, which could be good or bad. It's one of the older batches, and to be honest, this is the only rare breed I've ever had, is this particular batch. So,
oh really?
I can't. I'll be super interested to hear what you have to say on the newer batch. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I had to drive up to North Georgia, and I've never been up this way. Well, I hadn't been that particular route before. So there were a couple of liquor stores. I was like, I'm just going to pop in, see what they have. And so I go into this one, and it was a really big store. And I think I told you this, but I ran into Jim Cantori of the Weather Station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was there trying to talk the guy down on a $500 bottle of Jack Daniel's Sinatra Century Select or whatever it is. I don't know.
Oh, man.
So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But behind the counter, and to be honest, I didn't even know they had these. Behind the counter, they had a little bitty 375 bottle of Wild Turkey Rare Breed, and it was the batch 03, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute, I'm gonna pick it up so my other 03 can have a little mini me partner. So I picked that up. That was my one and only purchase on that entire trip, but I thought it was kind of cool. But I still haven't had any of the newer batches, so like I said, I'll be interested in hearing what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I've had the 108, the 112, and the 116, and they're all different. They're all different proofs. They're all. I'll get into the history here in a bit, but they're fun. It's kind of like the Bookers. Every batch is a little different, just because they're taking it from different warehouses. They're putting it down at they're bottling at different proofs, so it's all batches are different, which is always fun for me. I don't like I don't want to say I don't like it, but the mass produced that always tries to hit that same flavor profile. That's just boring to me. I like stuff that's always changing. That's why I like single barrels so much. It's just, single barrel, you're never going to have the same bottle twice. Well, unless you buy multiple bottles
Right.
Of that barrel. But it's just fun to see how things change from one warehouse to another, or one rick to another, or like the Blantons that we did, 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was 25 or 26 years later.
Yeah.
The ricks were side by side, but in 20 years, how much things have changed.
And you know what's crazy about that is I had another bottle of Blanton's that was one rick over the other way.
Oh my gosh.
So I think
what year was that?
It was 2014.
Oh man.
So it was, I think, what did we have on that show? 44 and 45?
Yeah.
And my bottle was Rick 43.
That's crazy.
So anyway, we got a little sidebar there, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go through my Blantons now and see if I got one from one of those Ricks.
So what you got on some history?
Back to Rare Breed.
Yeah.
All right. So Rare Breed was first released in 1991. It is Wild Turkey's only barrel-proof, non-chill filtered product. Well, I don't want to say product, I guess, because they have their single barrel Russell's line that is non-chill filtered. But it's a blend of a 6-year, an 8-year, and 12-year barrels. So they take a 6-year, probably, I don't know how many barrels, but, a certain amount of 6-year, a certain amount of 8 years, a certain amount of 12, and just blend them all together and then bottle them at that proof, whatever proof they come out. And they don't do any chill filtering. They just bottle it as is. Since 1991, there has been over 10 batches released. They used to do the batches by like batch numbers, but like the one you have. But more recently, they've just gone to putting the proof on the label, kind of skipping the batch numbers. So like your batch was, what would you say it was?
WT-03RB. So Wild Turkey 03 Rare Breed is how that breaks down.
The one I have just says barrel 116 proof.
Gotcha.
So,
it's interesting that they blend these, because you think of most barrel proofs. I mean, when you think of barrel proof, you think, at least I do anyway, I think of, like E.H. Taylor barrel proof, or Booker's is always barrel proof. And while Booker's is a blend, it is a small batch blend. So I would assume this is small batch too, but having heard Eddie talk, they always try to hit roughly an age profile, because Eddie likes a different age than what Jimmy likes. Jimmy, I can't remember the years, it's sad because we had Eddie on the Bourbon Show, and I heard Eddie talk at New Orleans, and he talked about this. I just can't remember what it was, but Eddie, I think, likes a younger, kind of somewhat lower proof bourbon. Jimmy does, rather. And then Eddie likes a little bit higher proof, a little bit older. And so they try to blend these to meet kind of in the middle somewhere, but I think some of them kind of skew more towards Jimmy's profile, the way I've understood it in the past.
A little bit more, probably a little bit more 8-year barrels than the other two.
Yeah.
But what I love about Wild Turkey is how they barrel their distillate. They, it comes off the still pretty low proof, and they barrel it at somewhere between 107 and 115 proof. So it gives the barrels really low proof. And so when that comes out of the barrel to be bottled, they have to add hardly any water to it. Where this, they don't add any water to it because it's barrel proof, but their 101, they hardly have to add any water to their 101. And that's just, it just gives you so much more flavor. in the bourbon when you don't have to add a ton of water. And that's one of my go to just off the shelf bourbons is 101, just because it has so much flavor to it. So that's a really cool thing I love about turkey is just that low proof entry.
Yeah. Yeah, and you and I have talked about going into stores before and just the usual things that we pick up, and 101 really is one of those because it's I can't think of the price right offhand, but it's not expensive at all. It's less than
$22 here.
I was going to say it's around $20.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go out to eat too, if my wife and I go out to eat, I don't always want to drop big amounts of money on a bourbon, especially if I have it at home.
Oh,
why do I want to spend $20, $30 or, even $18 on a glass of something that I have at home that I've already bought and paid for and know that I like it? So why not get something like 101 that's going to be around $8 to $10 for, probably a 2-ounce pour and enjoy it because it's full of flavor. It's a higher proof, and it's just, to your point, they don't have to water it down that much. It's just a good go-to bourbon.
I think I've hit the mash bill a couple times here and there. I think on the Kentucky Spirit episode, it's 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley, and I just love this product, and it's one of my favorite pours. I always have a rare breed on hand, and I always have a 101 on. Well, I'm not going to go into what all I have, but I always have multiple turkey products on hand, and that includes Kentucky Spirit and single barrel Russells. I always have multiples of all those. So
I think for a long time, wild turkey was somewhat undervalued and overlooked.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's because it's got that great spice to it, and people that don't like that spice, they drink it and they think it's harsh, but it's not. It's just got that nice cinnamon pepper spice to it, and a lot of people don't like that. They want something that's smooth and sweet, but this he grabs your attention. It's upfront. I don't want to say harsh because it's not harsh, but it lets you know it's there, and that's what I like in a bourbon.
Yeah. I mean, they have some really great products. I was not fortunate enough to get my hands on one of the 1998 limited releases that they came out with. I think it was last year. I didn't get my hands on that, but it got phenomenal reviews. And
I did, but I have not opened it yet. But when I do, sample will come your way, and we'll be doing a show on it.
Oh yeah, I love that. But yeah, they have some good. Just solid products. They have Rare Breed, they have Kentucky Spirit, as we've mentioned, the 101. The Decades is getting really good reviews.
Yeah, the whole Russell's line is great.
Yeah,
I've preached this to a lot of people. I know it's pricey, but for one of the best ryes out on the market is the single barrel Russell's Rye. It is phenomenal. It is, if you're a rye lover, it's a bottle you have to pick up. I know it's $60+, but it is just a fabulous rye, and it's uncut, unfiltered, and bottled at 104 proof, and it is just good.
Is it 6 year?
They don't, on the single barrel, they don't say what the year.
They had the other rye. The other rye is the 6 year.
The other rye is the other Russell's is 6 year, but that's watered down to probably 90 proof.
Mm-hmm.
The single barrel is 104 proof, so they do add water to cut it down to 104 proof, but it is non-chill filtered, and it is just phenomenal.
So I kind of look for Wild Turkey to come out with more ryes in the future because Eddie's son is really big into ryes, and I kind of look for them to kind of up their game in the rye because I don't know. I think everybody thinks that Eddie's going to retire before Jimmy does, and Jimmy's like old as Methuselah, I guess, but he's been in the game for a long time, but he's still gosh, if you still love your job, why not keep coming? But, he can't keep coming forever. So eventually Eddie's son is going to take over. And like I said, he's real big into rye. So I'll be interested in seeing where they go, in the next 5 or so years, 5-10 years.
I'd love some more rye products for sure.
Absolutely.
I would love to see maybe almost like a rare breed rye, just a blended batch of 6, 8, 12-year rye barrels that's bottled at whatever it comes out the barrels at. That I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Turkey.
Please, pretty please.
Yes.
So speaking of Wild Turkey barrels, hopefully we'll get to pick one someday. But I think
it will happen.
That is, from my understanding, quite the experience, because from what you've told me, either Eddie or Jimmy, or sometimes both, if you hit it just right, are typically around.
Yeah, they do the selections with you, and usually after the pick, get a little tour of the facility that you usually wouldn't get of, just taking the normal tour. It's on my bucket list for sure, and it is gonna happen probably within the next 5 years. If I had it my way, it would have happened this year, but it didn't. But here, hopefully, a couple years from now, maybe me and you'll be sitting there in Lawrenceburg, drinking with Eddie and Jimmy.
I can dig it.
Yeah. Well, with that, how about we take it out to break and taste and score?
I think we should. So, yeah, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will share our notes on Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Welcome back, everybody. In the break, we have been sipping on Wild Turkey Rare Breed. And per usual fashion, I will hand it over to Aaron to kick off the notes.
All right. So, to start off with, Seth, this 116 proof is something special. It's on the nose. It's bold. It's spicy. It's a little bit of sweet corn up front. A lot of oak. Get that nice rye in there. It's followed with a little bit of butterscotch and cinnamon. Definitely get nutmeg in there. A little bit of apple. Then I get this nice hint of I can't pick out the citrus. It's either orange or lemon, but it's a nice citrus zest. A little bit of mint and toffee, and the palate is it's just big. It's bold, it's spicy, it's everything you think turkey should be. Up front, it's just this nice rye, peppery, cinnamon. It's just very bold rye up front. And then you get this nice caramel, a little bit of honey, toffee, and then the nice cinnamon and clove kind of floats in there. I get hints of that orange zest, a little bit of mince, and tobacco on the end. And then the finish is it's spicy. It's just a big spicy rye finish, a little bit of oak, some I don't know if it's like cane sugar or brown sugar, but it's got this just great sugary sweetness, vanilla and caramel. This screams turkey all the way. I love this. Probably one of my favorite bourbons, just off the shelf bourbons. I'm gonna give it an 89.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love this. It's just I'm a huge turkey fan, and this just is what turkey is to me.
Right.
So
I'm gonna make another little pour here myself.
I think I will as well.
I really want to try that 116. It's on the it's obviously on the shelves down here, but I saw this 03 batch, and I was like, oh, it's older. I'm going to pick it up. Cool.
Oh yeah.
But here, just that extra eight proof. I would love to do a side by side between these two. Myself, I mean, obviously we're essentially doing one on the show, but yeah, I would like to do that myself and just see those differences there and what that eight proof difference does to it. As I mentioned, it's a gateway barrel proof, and you agreed with it too. And it's always on the shelf. It's reasonably priced, and
yeah, for $40. I mean,
right.
When before you get into your review, I think I mentioned this before. When Booker's raised their price, I was like, well, start getting rare breed now. I was looking. It was funny. I think I said this. I was looking at the shelf. I saw the Bookers for 70. I think it was 75. I was like, no. And I turned. I was like, oh, yeah, there's a Jim Beam barrel proof. I'll grab that. That was really good. And I was like, oh wait, that's $70. I was like, well, F this. I'm just grab a rare breed. It's $40. I'm out of $40. I'm out the door. See ya.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I've been drinking the 108.2 proof Wild Turkey rare breed. And this was batch WT03RB. On the nose, I was getting a fair amount of oak, but a lot of caramel. There were hints of the rye, mint. It got some leather there. For what it is, it's a relatively complex nose to me. Most of the biggest thing that I was getting on the nose was the caramel. But I was also getting some stone fruits there too, like cherries on it. And it's just, when you think about that, okay, you're getting stone fruits, oak, caramel, leather, rye, mint for $40. That's a great nose.
Oh yeah.
The palate, I was getting a good bit of cinnamon and red pepper spice up front. It really hits the top of my tongue. And this is what I thought was cool about this particular pour was that it starts off on the top of my tongue and then it gets a little bit salty and it moves to the sides of my tongue. It's just like it kind of transitions through my mouth. It was, I really liked it. It starts on the top with the cinnamon spice, gets a little salty, and then it's like it just hits the sides of my mouth and it starts getting a little sweet there. You get some of those caramel flavors there. And I really like that. It was a really cool mouthfeel to it. I was getting some vanilla and honey there. Just really enjoyable pour. The finish for me was long. It gets a little bit dry for me, bringing out some of the oak tannins there, but it does manage to get a little bit sweet towards the end. I pick up some of the sweeter caramel notes. And then on the tail end of it, I was getting some tobacco, but it was a sweeter tobacco flavor, almost like a pipe tobacco flavor to it. Just overall, a really enjoyable pour. As we've already discussed on it, it's very affordable. It's almost always on the shelf. If your store doesn't have it, chances are they can get it for you. I'm giving this one an 88 out of 100.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I just don't think you can go wrong with it. And like we've already mentioned, if you've not gotten into barrel proofs, this is where you need to start.
Oh yeah. It's low enough proof where it's not just going to overwhelm you, but it's just full of flavor. And I can't stress enough, don't ever be afraid of a barrel proof. Even Booker's, at 125 plus, it's going to be hot, but add water, add ice to it, bring it down to the proof that you like. I think 108 is a perfect drinking proof for me. 116 is good. It's full of flavor. It's got some heat to it. If I feel like some nights if it's a little too hot, add a little couple drops of water and just see what happens. And that's the fun thing about trying high proof bourbons. When you add water to them, it drops the proof, but it also brings out just different flavors in the bourbon. It can bring out some great sweeter notes, some great oaky notes. It's crazy how a little bit of water can change that bourbon. And I actually, I texted you a couple
I
nights
was
ago.
getting ready to mention that. I had the text
Yeah.
pulled up.
So last week we did that lucky number 7 Knob Creek pick, and I revisited it. I think it was 2 nights ago. I poured it and I took a sip, and it was good. It didn't seem like it changed a ton, but I put a capful of the limestone water in it, and I took a sip, and it was like peanut butter, peanut brittle, and caramel bomb. I text Seth right away. I was like, dude, this is freaking amazing with a cap full of water. I was like, this is like peanut brittle and caramel. And he was like, I got to try that.
I think my reply was, well, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it was just, it's crazy how it still had a bit of that dry finish to it, but man, it really brought out some of the sweet notes to it. And add some water, bring it down to a little bit more proof to your palate, and can't stress enough, drink it how you like it. Add an ice cube, do whatever you want to it. This is just a phenomenal pour for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of drinking how you like it, it's I kind of liken it to barbecue. I mean, if I go somewhere and get barbecue for the first time, I'm going to try it without sauce, any kind of sauce. I'm just going to try it just to see what kind of flavors it has. If it's a local barbecue joint and they legitimately smoke the stuff, it's not cooked in a rotisserie oven or something in the back. It's the same way with the bourbon. I mean, drink it, barrel-proof bourbon specifically. Drink it how it is, and give it a shot first, and then if it's too much for you, then do like you said, just add water and give it a shot, man. It's just it's amazing how just a couple of drops of water can make such a massive difference.
Oh yeah,
in a bourbon. But yeah, I mean, don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong. That's the thing.
In 2 days I'm putting on a tasting, and everything's going to be high proof bourbons, and I'm going to tell everyone, try it neat, add a couple drops of water, try it, add a couple more drops of water and try it. And then if it's still too hot, keep adding water till you get it to where you like it.
Yep.
No one's going to judge you here. You drink it how you like it. Just because I can drink it neat doesn't mean, that's what you're going to like.
Right.
Every palate's different, and I've been drinking high proof bourbon for a long time,
Well, and I think
this
palates
might be your first time, it's
right. And I think, at least my parents always used to say your taste buds change as you get older.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. I think that's very much the case when you're drinking whiskey, too, because, and I think I've given this, not really an analogy, but just the situation on other shows before, in that before I really got into drinking bourbon neat, with coffee, like I would always add a little bit of cream or a little bit of sugar, or I would have to let it sit for a little bit to cool down some. But it was really once I got into drinking bourbon neat, and then definitely into the barrel proof bourbons, it's like I can drink it straight from the pot now. I don't know if it just like killed all the taste buds on my tongue or what, but it just your mouth gets used to that heat, that spice, but it allows you to pick up a lot of those other flavors too that you don't always pick up when your palate isn't used to that.
Yeah, I remember my first bottle of Booker's. I opened it up and I tried it, and my mouth was on fire, and I was like, I will never drink this bottle. I don't know what to do with this. And it wasn't until I started, like I said, your rare breed is your gateway. This was before there was all the stuff coming out, barrel proof or higher proof, like your Old Forester, Prohibition style, or any of that stuff. It was, you had your Wild Turkey rare breeds, you had your Bookers, you had just a few other barrel proof products like Knob Creek, and, that was all you had. And
well, it's like so much of the limited editions nowadays are, if not barrel proof, they're over 100 proof.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them are anyway.
So I think the first rare breed I tried was the 108, and that was perfect. It was still hot at the time, but you know, you add a couple drops of water and it just mellowed it down. It brought out a ton of different flavors, and you're like, oh man, this is something special.
Yeah.
And that's what really started getting me into the higher proof stuff. And then, before you know it, I'm drinking Booker's Neat and loving it. And I think my first pick of Stag Junior was 134. I love that. And I think the highest proof that I've had on the Elijah Cray barrel proof is the 139, and I really dig that. And
is it the one they called Hazmat?
No, over 140 is Hazmat. 139 was it was just below Hazmat. I think it was 139.4 or something like that.
Okay.
But oh man, it was hot, but it's good. It's got a lot of good flavors to it. So it's just, it draws you in.
Yeah.
Once your palate gets used to it, I've had the Stags from Antique Collection. I've had the 144 and the whatever the other super high proof one there was, but
I think the one I have, it was 2014. I think it's 128 or 129 or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
once you go barrel proof, you're not going back. Once you can sit down and enjoy barrel proof, I just don't think you're going back. I don't. So consider this your gateway drug of an episode.
Yes. Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Give in.
It's a bitch. And I'm not going
grab a rare breed.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
No. Pick up that rare breed.
Do it. $40, man. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong at all.
88.5.
Excellent. That's a solid bourbon for $40. Well, cool. Where can folks find you?
Well, I am at Bourbon Cave on Instagram and Twitters. Write high proof single barrel reviews for the Bourbon Zeppelin. Also write for the Sons of Winston Churchill. And you can always find me here on the Firewater Review.
And I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram and the Twitters. I, too, write reviews for Son of Winston Churchill that can be found at sowchurchill.blogspot.com. And you can find them on Instagram at Son of Winston Churchill. And you can find all of our shows on abvnetwork.com. You can find them in iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. We appreciate your reviews. I mean, it helps us tremendously if you guys listening to these shows subscribe to them and you provide your feedback. It helps greatly. So if you go into iTunes and you search for bourbon or bourbon reviews or whiskey, these podcasts will show up. That helps us. It helps us understand what you guys are looking for, and as does your reviews. So we really appreciate your reviews, and let us know what you want us to review. Speaking of what we will be reviewing, on the next episode, we'll be reviewing Jim Beam Double Oaked. So be sure to tune in for that one. And I think that does it. We're coming up on 4th of July. That's next week.
Yes,
so
next week.
Yep. We hope that you have...
Happy 4th.
We hope that you have a great and safe Happy 4th. And until next time, please drink responsibly and cheers.
And pick up a bottle of rare breed for your 4th.
Absolutely.
Later.
Fireworks in your mouth, yo.
Boom.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.